Welcome to the TransForum. The great issues of our day demand clarity, and today we will be addressing the question, how do we create long-term prosperity for the largest number of people?
Hi, I'm Dennis Peacock, and we're talking today about the economy. And I've got one big question. Who's smoking what in Washington, D.C.? That's the question. You know, the principle is you put out a fire by attacking the fire. Sometimes directly, sometimes indirectly, but you got to aim for the fire. Now, I don't know seriously who is talking to President Obama. I certainly don't understand the talk about voodoo economics with Reagan. We got something that isn't even voodoo going on here. You know, the deficit has just gone over $1 trillion for 2009. We're not anywhere near the end. In fact, they're projecting a deficit for this year alone of $1.8 trillion. Just the amount of spare change. The estimated debt now for the federal government is $11.5 trillion. Just so you have some sense of that, and those numbers are so big, none of us can relate to them, even if you can write them. 80% of our annual gross domestic product. Now, the highest it ever got in World War II, at the peak of that total war, was 120% of GDP. We're at 80% right now and climbing. We have 10% unemployment. Listen, I worked with the Bureau of Labor Statistics when I was an economist here with the labor unions. Nobody really knows what the figures are. You know, they're all approximations. They may say 9.5, it could be 13.5, because a lot of people have dropped out. We've got 11.5% unemployment here in California, which really ought to concern everybody, because set by itself, California is between the 6th and the 7th largest economic power in the world. And we've got 11.5% plus unemployment here. Now somebody's got to be smoking this. I mean, when I first heard this, and we talked about this here on the TransForum, somewhere between 10 to 12% of the TARP money, of the $787 billion, one in $10, so to speak, was actually directed at putting out the fire, was related to what was actually perceived to be the Great Crisis. 1 in 10, 1 in $11. What, are you kidding me? And now we find out that somewhere around 10% of that money, the so-called TARP money, I think it must be a TARP that's got a lot of holes in it because it's sure not putting out the fire. Only 10% of that money is yet to be released. Something is wrong. And now, I use drug humor because otherwise I'll go into convulsions. I mean, what else are you going to say if you're a rational human being, let alone somebody who knows anything about economic reality? Well, if somebody is smoking something in Washington, D.C., my next question is, will China roll their own with the next set of U.S. notes that we ask them to buy? Hey, this is the TransForum. Let's engage.